Rebbe, here we have the Sikha. We're talking about the Sikha from Dvar Malchut. And what are we saying is that Moshiach is going to come and he's going to bring a new awareness of God in the world. And this new awareness of God in the world is going to mainly come from the Torah, and it's going to affect the Torah, so that we'll understand the Torah in a whole new light. We'll feel the godliness and the depth, the life, the excitement of the Torah. But also there's going to be repercussions. And they said the law is going to be like Beit Shammai, for instance, in the future, that the Mashiach will explain to the high court why things should be like Beit Shammai. And it could be we're going to have to skip a little bit of this. Okay, let's just do it. Here we go. Aval Bad, B'yamot HaMashiach, in the days of the Mashiach, the law will be like Beit Shammai. Even since Sheishtana Shikul Adat B'teva HaSeichel T'Chachmi Yisrael. Because the high court of Israel, they will change their ways of thinking. They'll have more information, more knowledge. And therefore their minds will change according to the nature of the world in the days of the Mashiach. Like Beit Shammai. Why like Beit Shammai? So the Rebbe explained that Beit Shammai, the whole thing, we talked about this before, Beit Shammai, it was called Beit Shammai, means the school of Shammai. Shammai and Hillel, these were two holy wise men that lived before the destruction of the temple. And they had pupils that went until after the destruction of the temple. And Hillel was usually more lenient because they saw the state of the Jewish people and they said, listen, we can't really be severe with them. And Beit Shammai said, no, we have to bring out from every single Jew his ultimate potential. And his ultimate potential is to be strict with himself and not to come anywhere near close to anything bad. And now the opinion is like Beit Hillel, because we're in exile and we can't demand too much from the Jewish people. But in the future, when there's going to be more purity, more revelation of the Creator in the world, so then the law will be like Beit Shammai. It says all the idolatry will be gone away from the world, all the sins will be, that's what we just finished learning in the Kodesh. People won't have a desire to kill, to steal, to lie, to cheat, to do adultery, after Shishlam Birur Atov Ra, afterward that all the good will be separated from the bad, and also within us, and we won't have any desire to do bad, destructive, selfish things. You kulam b'mamad shel hasham orchotav. It says that everyone will be in the way that they can limit themselves, ledaktek, to be very careful, lishkol darachinu b'tachlit, that everything that we do and everything we say and everything even that we think will be according to what God wants. That's the idea of Beit Shammai, to be very strict. Zihirut gamira, therefore there'll be the care will be very careful to avoid even concealed bad. And the Rebbe is going to say later on, I hope we get to it, that that's what's going to be in the future. It says that when Mashiach comes, that there are going to be 3 more cities of refuge. It says God says that there's going to be 6 cities of refuge, and that when Mashiach comes, there'll be 3 more. And the Rebbe is going to ask the question, why do you have to have cities of refuge? Those are for people who kill, accidental murderers. And there's not going to be such a thing in the future. So he's going to say, no, it's true, there won't be, but the idea of what bad is going to be so high and fine and refined, right? That it's the smallest deviation from what God wants is going to be considered to be like a murderer. And of course, it's accidental. Nobody does it on purpose. And that's going to be this. We'll see. And until Shalilas Afsharas, there won't be any possibility to do bad, and that will push away all the negative things from the world. And that's the idea of Beit Shammai, to be very, very exact and precise in everything we want. Because there will still be a little bit of bad in the world. The inyan azeh, this will be by means of revelation by a higher level of the Torah. Like it says, this was the level that Beit Shammai was already on. Mecharei tafe, that they were sharp, a new level of sharpness and clarity in the Torah. by every single Jew. Torah Chadashim, that's what it means. There's going to be a new Torah. We'll feel the reasons, the secrets of every law of the Torah. Sheliyotan Lamaila, Meshach, and those people won't just do what feels good. That was the whole idea of idolatry. Why did the people serve the golden calf? Because it felt good. That's all of the religions of the world. All of the religions in the world, people do them because it feels good. It feels good to them. They get some sort of comfort from it. They get some sort of a feeling of a spirituality from it. They get a big rush, right? You see people say, "Oh, I'm so happy they took me. I've woken my eyes up to this religion and that religion." All the religions have these people that testify that, "Oh, I know I've seen the light and I am so wonderful. And before I was in darkness, and now here I'm happy. No, once I was happy, right? I was miserable. Now I'm happy. Once I was dumb. Now I'm smart. Once I was poor. Now I'm rich. Once I was sick. Now I'm healthy." Why? Because this religion. And then you just fill in the blank, whichever the religion is. It says in the future, there's going to be the secrets, the revelation of God and the secrets of the Torah that people won't think about themselves at all. But because there's still going to be a little tiny bit of selfishness that people have to avoid, that's the opinion will be like Beit Shammai. This will be above the idea of refining the world, just doing what God wants because that's what God wants. Even therefore, by following the opinion of Beit Shammai, then it says the world will become totally purified from any sort of bad. Bad exists because people make the wrong choices. Bad exists because God wants it to exist, but He doesn't want us to choose it. The option to do bad things, this is part of the world. Right? You can take a hammer if you want to, and you can build a house with it, or you can pound your next door neighbor in the head with it. You pound yourself in the head with it. You can do whatever you want to. It says in the future, there won't be any of this desire to be destroyed or self-destructive or for personal pleasure or aggrandizement or anything like that. There won't be any of this, but there'll still be a little bit of the potential. And this is what Beit Shammai will take care of. Yeshlo, see if we can also, this is also the connection to the Chag Shavuot, the holiday of Shavuot. Holiday of Shavuot is the time of the giving of the Torah. Shabbon, then the Torah was given to everyone. This is going to be Sunday night. Kolel kol Torah Chadasha, when the Torah was given, also the new Torah of the Moshiach was also given at Mount Sinai. Everything was there because the new Torah is just the revelation of God, and that's what was in Mount Sinai. There we find also something similar to the laws of Beit Shammai, something like the laws of Beit Shammai in the days of the Mashiach. Okay, this is a little bit a little bit complicated, but okay. Let's say, in the end of the laws of the holiday of Shavuot, the Alter Rebbe writes, the first Rebbe of Chabad, the one who's Likkutei Torah we just learned, he also wrote a very amazing Shulchan Aruch, all the laws of Judaism, the practical ones now. Some of it was lost. And so it says like this. Okay. After the holiday of Shavuot, it's forbidden to fast. That's what he writes. You're not supposed to fast the day after the holiday of Shavuot, because it was a day that sacrifices were made in the time the Beis Hamikdash was there. Why? Shabu b'yom, that on that day, after Mount Sinai, after the holiday of Shavuot, in the Holy Temple, they were sacrificing all these olot. Olot are sacrifices that are not eaten by anyone. They're totally burned up on the altar. The olot ria, shaloya yochalim lahakri, that they couldn't sacrifice on Yom Tov itself because they're not edible, and you can only eat on the holiday. You can only work on the holiday. You can cook and things like that, and you can burn only things which are necessary for eating. Even though that this is the opinion of Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai says that on the holiday you can't offer up these olot, these offerings. And therefore Beit Shammai said that the day after Shavuot, you would offer them up. But the law of, according to Beit Hillel, it's permissible to sacrifice these olah sacrifices, even on Yom Tov itself. So therefore, according to Beit Hillel, it should be permissible to fast after Shavuot. Because the only reason that it was forbidden to fast was because back in the temple, according to Beit Shammai, you couldn't sacrifice these Ola sacrifices, and you would sacrifice them only after the holiday because it was a day of making sacrifices. So therefore, it was forbidden to eat. It was a day of making sacrifice. It was forbidden to fast. So it was forbidden, but it's only forbidden to fast according to Beit Shammai, that said that the only day you can make these sacrifices is after the holiday is finished. So after the holiday, you're making sacrifices in the holy, you can't fast. But Beit Hillel says that it's permissible to fast. Nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe brings the law like Beit Shammai, since that the thing became the law like Beit Shammai, that even Beit Hillel did. Also, Beit Hillel liked the words of Beit Shammai, V'hirba b'Yisrael, and the Jewish people accepted. So therefore, they said, okay, you know what? We'll make the sacrifices like you say, Beit Shammai. We'll make it after the holiday. And therefore, this day will be a day which is like a Yom Tov itself. You're making the sacrifices, and therefore you can't fast on this day. So in other words, the law, even though that Beit Hillel disagreed and said that you should be able to fast after Shavuot, but nevertheless, Beit Hillel accepted the law like Beit Shammai. What does this have to do with? It says in the Gemara that Male Yom Da'atziras, that the day before Shavuot, the day before the Torah was given, it is a danger to have your blood let. They used to do this commonly. It used to be a way of healing, making people. They used to have a bloodletting. They would make a hole in them, wherever it was. They would. It says, but the day before Shavuot, it's forbidden to do that because the nafik bezika, they will go into the person a certain spirit, and the name of the spirit is called tavuach. The ilo kiblu Yisrael, that if the Jewish person would not, if the Jewish people would have not have received the Torah, this it says in the Gemara, if the Jewish people would have not received the Torah, it would have killed them. Why? Kill the Jewish people. Why? Because for their flesh and their blood. So therefore, the day before Shavuot, it's forbidden to have your blood let. We're going to go back to this thing about fasting. The Chidush Agados of the Marsha, there is one of the commentaries on the Gemara. He asked the question at first glance, Lo haveli likros tavuach. It shouldn't have been called tavuach. This evil spirit is called murdered. It should be called toveach, murderer. This evil spirit that wanted to kill the Jewish people, it should be called the murderer. That should be the name. It shouldn't be called the murdered one, that it was murdered. Shaboli tvach, because it's coming to kill others. Umataret, it says, Hauzika, this spirit, Shua Satan, which this is the devil. This is the Yetzer Hara, this is the evil impulse. This is the spirit of the angel of death that came to, God forbid, kill the Jews if they didn't receive the Torah. But the fact is, since they did receive the Torah and they conquered their evil impulse, so therefore the Jewish people, they killed it. So therefore this evil spirit is now not called the murderer, but it is called the murdered one. Okay, this is the whole idea of Yom Tavoch. That's what it means when we said over here that the reason that it's forbidden to fast after Shavuot is because it's a day of sacrifice, the day of the dead ones. Namely, we kill these animals. But it means not just we kill the animals, it refers also to this story over here, what happened before, that there was this angel, the angel of death was called the murderer, but we murdered it by means of accepting the Torah. And that's what it means that it's the Yom Tavuach, the day of the murdered ones. The animals are all sacrificed. That's what it means. This is the day after Shavuot. This is signifying that not just the animals that they sacrificed, but also the evil impulse that was sacrificed, that was killed. Kolomer Mali the Yom Hatzeres, the day before holiday of Shavuot, before they received the Torah, Nafek Bezika, there was this evil spirit that wanted to kill the Jews. But after the holiday of Shavuot, after the Jews did receive the Torah, so that means the Jewish people, the Torah has the power to destroy the evil impulse, to destroy the selfish impulse, which was what brought the Jews to worship the golden calf, which is what brought Adam to eat from the tree of knowledge, what causes death today. So it says, well, the Torah has the power to defeat it. Atam b'davar this, what that's the reason why Beit Hillel did what Beit Shammai said. This is the reason why. The Harba Yisrael Nahagu, why the Jews did like this. We can say that on the holiday itself, the day when the Torah was given, that this is included also the new Torah, the secrets of the Torah, which are above any connection to any evil. So if so, you don't have to kill the Yetzer Hor on that day. You don't have to destroy the bad, but it's automatically destroyed. Like Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai says you don't make any sacrifices on that day because learning Torah, they had the power, says, to do away with all evil. It was all bad and selfishness was already done away automatically on Mount Sinai. Therefore, after the holiday of Shavuot, it's called Yom Tavuach. It's called the day of the slaughtered one. We killed the Yetzer Hor. That was the whole idea of the. Okay, here's an interesting thing, and it says like this. In addition to the fact that in the days of, so what do we learn from this? Beit Shammai already had the awareness of God that's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. But the law was not like them because the Jewish people they didn't have the same awareness of God. But in the future, all of the rabbis of Israel will have this awareness. In fact, eventually the whole world will. So therefore, the law will be like Beit Shammai. But this indicates also a very important thing, that the Torah is eternal. Okay, so now let's go back to this thing that we said before, that in the future, we said that in the future there's going to be this war between the fish, the Leviathan, and the cow, the big ox. And the Leviathan is going to slaughter it, but it's going to slaughter it with its fins. And even though nowadays this is not a kosher slaughtering, but in the future it's going to be, because it'll be a new law. That's what it says. The law will be like Beit Shammai, and other things also will be changed because there'll be a new awareness. Ask the Rebbe a question. That's the big problem with the slaughtering of the fish, is going to slaughter this ox. And the big problem is that the fins are not straight, and that's it. I've got a bigger problem. Slaughtering has to be done by a Jew, a human being. You can't, if a fish kills an ox, even if the fish has the straightest fins in the world and they're sharp, that's not a good slaughtering. It has to be done by a human being. What are we talking about? The fin going like this? The whole entire slaughtering is wrong. Says the Rebbe, is a clear law that says slaughtering has to be by people. There's even a law that if a shochet, the knife falls from his hand, it falls accidentally from his hand, and it cuts the animal properly, it's no good. It says zavachata v'alta. It says v'zavachta v'achalta. Of the person who's slaughtering, it has to be and the one who eats it has to be fit to slaughter as well. Right? It has to be done by a man. So we can say the explanation is like this, that the future, this slaughtering, which is going to be done by the ox, is going to be not by means of this fish. God will do it. That the fins of this fish, the Leviathan, this will be the knife that God will slaughter the shur habar. That he'll slaughter this ox. And we'll see what this ox is in a second. Because there's going to be a new Torah, and that's the shechita that's going to be okay. Let's explain this. Why does God have to slaughter the ox? He's got to slaughter the ox. And because God is going to be doing the slaughtering, that's why there's going to be a new law. Because the slaughtering of, if God does it, then it's not like the slaughtering of a person according to the laws of the Torah. But on the other hand, it says that what God does, he commands us to do. This whole idea of what is shechita, what is the idea of slaughtering this fish and the slaughtering of this ox? What does it mean slaughter? What does it have to be slaughtered for? What's the idea? In the Holy Temple, there was slaughtering, right? They would kill a lot of animals, would be slaughtered. What type of a holiness is this? Why is this the main feature in the Holy Temple? Says the Rebbe, it says, Ein shachar ela Moshiach. The word to slaughter also means to draw. By means of this is telling us how the animal has to be slaughtered. It has to be slaughtered by the knife going back and forth. But also you have to pull the knife. You can't chop. But it also means you have to draw down godliness, and you have to also elevate the thing that you're slaughtering. That by means of this, by means of slaughtering an animal properly, you make an animal, he's not an animal anymore. You elevate the animal, and it becomes that a human being can eat it. It becomes flesh and blood like a human being. And with this power, a human being can, with his free will, learn the Torah, do the commandments, and serve the creator of the universe. The Nimsa, so it comes out, but with the Torah of the mitzvahs, it comes out. The whole idea of shechita, of slaughtering an animal, it's not lowering the animal down. Before it was alive, now it's dead. No. Before it was forbidden to eat. And now it becomes permissible to eat. And not only that, it becomes absorbed in the limbs and the mind of the person who eats it. And it can be used to serve God with Torah and the commandments. This is especially the idea of birur v'halas inyana olam de kedusha. This really slaughtering is really more than anything else stressing the work of the Jews to elevate the world to holiness. And even more, slaughtering the Yetzer Hara, selfishness. And so according to this, now we can understand that when a person slaughters or when God slaughters. We're saying slaughtering does not mean killing. It doesn't mean to bring it down. It means to elevate the world, to bring it up. It used to be in the Jewish communities that there was a rabbi and there was the shochet. The rabbi, he was the one that would decide laws. He was more of let's say, a spiritual person, a leader. He would decide the laws, he would tell, and the shochet, he would go around the community and just see that everything was right. If he saw something was wrong, he would tell people, he would help people. He was more physical in the world. So what's the difference between God slaughtering, which that's what it's going to be in the future, and a man slaughtering? Also, why does it be that God is going to kill this big ox? What's wrong with an ox? It's killing the evil impulse, that's good. God should kill a snake or something like that, huh? Why does he have to kill an ox? We'll see. So it says this whole idea of elevating the world by means of slaughtering. Well, a person could do it or God could do it. If a person does it, Kiev and Shapol is a bureau by means of a person. So therefore, there's many, many limitations in how we human beings can purify the world. We have to go according to all the laws of the shechita and etc. And without, if we don't exactly follow the exact laws, then the slaughtering is impossible. It's impure. It's negated. It's false. It's treif, forbidden to eat. Which is not the case. If God does the slaughtering, since this is made by God Himself, therefore there's not so many limitations. In fact, there's no limitations at all, and therefore any way you can slaughter is okay. And we can also, this is the whole idea of the 3 Ari Miklat. This is what I told you before, and we're going to skip this now. It says that in the future, it's just a sentence in the Torah. The Rambam brings it also as one of the proofs of Mashiach. In the Torah, it says that there's 6 cities of refuge for anyone who kills someone accidentally. There's complicated laws involved. What exactly it means accidentally? It says, but in the future, it says, that God is going to be, in other words, he's referring to the days of the Moshiach, says God is going to add 3 more cities of refuge. So the Rebbe says, what do you need that for? In the future, there's not going to be any murder, sir. There's not going to be accidental murder. What do you have to have 3 more cities of refuge for? It says the reason is, and I'm just explaining outside, it says the reason is that in the future, the whole idea of what it means to kill, of what is bad and what is murder, what it means spilling blood, is going to be so high and so refined. No one's going to think about actually killing someone, and no one will even kill a person actually. One won't kill another person, even accidentally. But what people can accidentally kill their spirituality in a very, very high level. And that's what these extra 3 cities are going to be. Things will be so fine. The idea, and those all the thick, obvious bad will be done away with, but there'll still be very high levels. Like we said, like with Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. And that's why we're going to have 3 more cities. Therefore, nowadays you have to have these cities, but in the days of the Mashiach, when there's going to be purified bad and good, and there won't be any worry that maybe there'll be sins, murder, rape. It'll be totally unconceivable, right? Like today, nowadays, no normal person would cut off his own hand, right? Go and take a saw, cut off. No normal person wouldn't do that. The same thing, no one person would want to go anything against the creator of the universe, no one against God. But, everyone will be, there still will be small bad, there'll still be the free power of free choice. There'll be the very, very fine levels of bad and good. Therefore, and those things will have to be, according to Beit Hillel, will say, okay, you don't have to pay attention to them. But Beit Shammai says, no, we have to be very exact. Therefore, that's the idea of these 3 new cities. It says that there'll be people will be so pure and high and holy that there'll have to be 3 special cities in order to teach them how to be totally pure. And that's what the idea, and that's what it means that God is going to do the slaughtering in the future. It's not in the hands of man. Therefore, we can say this is especially what it says in the whole idea, what it says that the slaughtering of the Shur Bar, and this thing of what says the Shur Bar, this represents all of the work that we Jewish people have been doing through the whole time of exile, refining the world. As that's the Shur Bar, means that it's bar means also pure. But nevertheless, there'll still be a little bit bad, and have to be slaughtered by God with these fins of the Leviathan. That also the bar, which is the idea of what do you say, highness of God, which cannot possibly be understood. You can't, it's so high that you can't really incorporate these ideas in yourself. This will be revealed in a way that we can reveal it. The Shor Bar, which is all the purifications that we've done, and that's the reason why it says that in the future that God is going to have to do this work on his own. As we're going to have to talk about tomorrow, we'll have to finish this on Thursday. Just hope we remember where it is. The reason why it is the slaughtering of the Shor Bar with the fins of the Leviathan. We'll talk about this more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's just do the Yom Yom. It says, if you throw a stick in the air, it will come back to its root side. And that's what it says. The idea is that it says that what was it? Anyway, it says that what is it? Who was it? Titus, whatever he wanted. Anyway, he shot arrows into the air in the time of the destruction when he wanted to destroy the second temple, and all the arrows came back to him. Nero and Kiso, I don't remember what it is, and all the arrows came back to him. And it said that, I see that God wants to, wants to destroy the temple, and he wants to come back on me. and he ran away, and he says he was converted. I think it was Nero and Caesar, Nero. But it says, but from there you see that if you shoot an arrow up into the air, just up, it'll come back to where it was, that source. In any case, our fathers, the Rabbis, said, this is a saying, said that we have, our fathers, the holy Rabbis, they gave a heritage to the first Hasidim, those of the Alter Rebbe, that their sons, their children's, all the generations, no matter where they were, no matter how far the way they go, they have a root which will draw them back to Hasidut. At the time this is covered, it's concealed in a number of garbs. This is the service of whoever wants life, to remove all the coverings, to establish for himself times of learning Hasidut, and connect back to his source, conduct himself in the manner of the Hasidic community. And this is going to be true with the Hasidim, and also with all the Jews are eventually going to all come back to their true source and essence. And so the Hasidim always have trouble with their children, you should know. It's a saying they always had, especially Chabad. Hasidim had trouble with their children, but in the end, everything will come out all right. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now, see you at 3 o'clock, God willing. We'll learn Chumash. Today, I think that what we're going to learn is that we'll learn a little bit of the Chumash, but also we'll learn the Chumash portion of the reading of the holiday of Shavuot. We've pretty much finished with the Bamidbar. There are no commandments in it, but so we'll learn the reading. It's from Parshas Yitro, the giving of the Torah. We'll see. See you at 3 o'clock. Shalom u'bracha.